Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And if this is your first time here, I sure appreciate you stopping in, sure appreciate your support. Today, we are going to talk about a topic that is the center of a lot of conversations this time of the year, especially, but with me about certain regions and certain properties. And what we're going to talk about, guys, is should you or should you not bait? We'd like to take a minute to thank our great partners, Promised Land Tree Service, Scent Thief, Painted Arrow Outdoors, Wicked Feeder Solutions, Bluebird Drones, DLS Outdoors, Jackhammer Mineral, Full Spectrum Products, Harper Growing Solutions, and Cabela's. So, that probably automatically, when you see the heading of this and you also hear the beginning of this video, it probably gets a lot of folks either tuned in or a lot of people upset. It can be a very controversial topic, right? So I always joke about this, but there's two heated topics in the hunting industry. Many, but let's just use a couple of them. Crossbows versus vertical bows, fixed blades versus mechanicals, and baiting versus not baiting, right? we could have a lot of views on a lot of videos and upset a lot of people just by focusing on those three topics, right? So let's just dive into this one, guys. So I'm going to bring this to you guys from a standpoint of me being on both sides of this debate throughout my hunting career. And I don't say that as a career, as a professional. That is what I do for my full-time job. You guys obviously know that, hence the reason you're here. But as far as just a career, meaning like from the time I started hunting till now, right? Why I say that is this, guys. Born and raised in Central Michigan, we couldn't do it years and years ago. Then we switched and we were able to do it, right? And we did it for many, many years. And now so I've lived in the state of Illinois. I lived out west where you couldn't do it in these states. And now I'm in the state of Kentucky and where you can use feed, right? So a lot of variables there, a lot of pros and cons. But today's video, guys, is talking directly at should you be using that on your farm if you're in an area or you're in a state that allows it, right? The answer to that, yes. And the reason is, guys, corn is king. So I get this topic a lot. Well, corn, we don't need it because corn's not as beneficial to a lot of folks as you think, or a lot beneficial as far as the health standard. It's not nutrition great. That's not the truth, right? That's probably what a lot of people think, to try to help them think that we shouldn't have to use corn and corn's the devil, but it's not the truth. So corn, depending on where you're getting it and the dry stage of it, corn is actually just as good, or a lot of times more beneficial, more healthy, if you will, than an acorn. And browse is more consistent, can have more native components to it, maybe some higher protein at some time, stuff like that, guys. But don't let somebody tell you that corn isn't nutritional, because it is. That's just a fact, right? If you debate that, then look at where the deer are the healthiest and the biggest bodies around the entire country. They're shooting big deer because there's corn there, right? A lot of ag. Yes, it's got some stuff to do with soybean and stuff. But my point is this: it's not the devil. It's not as unhealthy as people think. So we just debunked that one, right? The power of this, though, guys, is the knowledge that I want you to grasp a hold of. Is this: if you're in a community that is able to use it, you're in a state. Let's start there. That's able to use it. You're in a community that's able to use it. Corn's king. Whoever has the corn is going to win. It's not if you should use the corn. It's how you should be using it and where you should be using it, right? So the fact of the matter is most people that are corning, let's say, or baiting, right, are sitting on top of it. One, where they're sitting is an upright feeder. That's spin casting feed on the ground. Not a big fan of that, but that's what most feeders are. Maybe it's one of the banks or rednecks or something like that, a funnel type feeder that's putting it out to the outside, that's up off the ground to try to, not feed the coons, something we're going to talk about, right? But guys, it's an upright feeder. It looks like a feeder. And I'm here, guys, you know the partnership that we have with Wicked Feeder Solutions. We're not only partners, we're great friends. And the reason that is, guys, is it stemmed from the fact that I was just like probably a lot of you that are watching this, I didn't realize how impactful an upright feeder really is, right? That's why I'm using them. I'm not telling you that because I make a fortune off from that and I get paid to say that or anything. I'm telling you that because it works. One of the biggest reasons, guys, is because it's different. It's something that everybody else doesn't have. So, should you use it if you're in a community that is allowed to do it? Absolutely. But should you be using it the same way they are using it? Absolutely. The common way, right? Absolutely not. So, I'm not saying that you can't hunt on top of a food plot or corn, but let's put that as a way so far in the back that if we can grab a hold of it and use it, it can be very beneficial. I have one spot on 3 farms, my farm and then Lisa's. I've got one spot that has a blind over a feeder because 2 steps out the back door, you're going down to a pond and you get out and the deer have no idea you're in the world. On the other side of that is you can get into the stand. If you're hunting it, you can hunt that one AM and PM, hence the reason it's there. Divides a food plot from a shot plot. Get into the blind when there's actually deer on the food plot or the feeder and you can get out of dodge and they have no idea you're there. So, can it work? Yes. Should you look at that first? No. Example is my home farm, 70 acres here, which is a mile from that farm I just, and speaking of, I don't have one here that I can bow hunt on top of, right? The reason for that is I can't get in and I can't get out of it without doing more harm than good. The way my farm is, the way I have it set up, it doesn't allow that. Now, I can reach out and touch every one of them, most of them, with a gun, from a gun blind. But that gun blind isn't just looking at that feeder, right? It's not just looking at that food plot. I always encourage folks is to turn the blind 180 degrees. Look out the left window, look out the right window to your feeder or your food plot, but look down into the timber to maybe a water hole. Look at a saddle. I've got one gun blind here, guys, that I'm looking at a one shot plot, a end of a food plot, the transition below the doe bedding. I can see into the doe bedding because it's on a slope, south facing slope. I can see a water hole. I can see another food plot. I mean, a saddle, the list goes on and on and on. Hence the reason it's such a good spot, right? But I'm not just looking out the front window. Rule of thumb is this: don't ever look out the front window of your blind to a food plot or a feeder. That will get you halfway there. The rest of it is architecture, and the rest of it is how your farm is set up and how that all fits and where it should be. So, hope that kind of shed some light on that reason or that mindset, right? The other side of this is this, guys. If the biggest point of this video, if you're not using it, somebody else is in the community. They are at some point going to win. Now, like Kentucky's a $1 state. Maybe there's only, if they're ethical about it and they're abiding by the law, that's $1 and they're done, right? But here's the way to look at this, guys. If you don't use it, someone else is going to draw them. Does are going to get pushed off a food plot. They're going to get pushed off your feeders. Your feeder's going to run out, whatever the case is, right? And they are going to go to that location. And the bucks are going to get themselves in trouble because the does are going to drag them over there, because a corn feeder, right, is not like a is not like a food plot. That a food plot can potentially, you got to have a tonnage upon tonnage upon tonnage and acres of it for it not to be at this bell curve, right? Let's say this time of the year and start crashing, right? Because they're eating you out of house and home. You can have 30-inch brassicas. I don't care where you're at in the country, depending on when that rut hits you. After the rut, they start losing the food, and whoever has that corn, that tonnage, is going to win. That's why we use the corn, right, guys, is to back up the food plots. Whether I ever can see them, I told somebody this the other day. If you bow hunted my farm, you would never know that I have a feeder on the farm. You'd never see it. You would never know that there was a feeder on the farm. If you gun hunt, then you could probably see one of them, right? You'd be crazy not to, because at some point something is going to get themselves in trouble. It's going to go there late season, follow a doe, tending a doe that goes there, whatever the case is. So let that one kind of churn with you, right? That I'm not saying that it wouldn't be a blessing that if everyone in the state or community wasn't doing it, it'd save everybody a lot of money. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be great, but the problem with it is if you're in a community or in a state that does it, you have to do it. It's just how you're doing it and how you're using that strategy. So another thing, the list is long, right? You know, a lot of people say it's the pressure that you're creating by going in and filling these feeders. Guys, the deer that are on my farms can be at the feeder an hour later. Is because of how I do that, right? I go in and I fill a feeder. That feeder's quiet. That's why we use the wicked feeders. We go in, we fill them up. I use my side-by-side. I don't shut it off. We're not talking around the feeder. We're putting corn in it and we're leaving, we're getting out. Right now I do it about once every 12 days or whatever that case is, right? Go in, fill that up, get gone, use the same side-by-side. Don't take your truck in there. Don't show up an hour before or the day before you're gonna hunt and go out there and fill your feeders. Don't use your truck or your buddy's truck. It has to be the same machine at the same time of the day when you're doing it. And they will get very, very accustomed and they know who it is and what you're doing, right? So there's a lot of moving parts to this one, but your habitat, guys, is just, let's touch on that real quick. Your habitat is a piece of the puzzle, just like your food plot's a piece of the puzzle, right? Just like your water holes are a piece of the puzzle. Your licking branch is a piece of the puzzle. The corn is a way to back up the tonnage to make sure that food plot performs and those does stick to that area. Then if you do get lucky and the buck goes to it and you can see him do that with a gun, great. But it's there to back up the tonnage, so when your food plots fail, like my farm, right, we're in horrible, horrible soil conditions and we're gaining ground every year, but we don't have 30-inch brassicas, right? So I'm not saying that we couldn't hunt the farm the same way if that feeder wasn't there, but I might have to switch here. I might have to look at more of a perennial instead of trying to grow brassicas or something like that, right? There's all these things, but if you're in a community that has it, you're in a state that has it, you're in a community that has it, you have to use it, because if you don't, you could have the example, there's probably some folks tuning into this, watching this, you can have a 4,000 acre chunk of ground that I work with and some landowners inside of this 4,000 acre talked about piece here, right? Great. I wish everybody had an opportunity to put a 4,000 acre co-op together and have all the like-minded people. But guess what? If you're not, the 20 acres on the outside of that 4,000 acres, if he's feeding, he wins. So your habitat has to be excellent. You don't think that you're going to give up habitat, or you don't have to do food plots, or you don't have to do licking branches, or you shouldn't do water holes, and screw it, we're just going to put feeders out there, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is add that to a finishing touch of your farm, right? If you can use it. If you can't, then build the best habitat that you can possibly build. Hunt them pinches and funnels and everything else, and you don't need it because it's not cheap, especially if you're supplemental feeding. It's not cheap, right? But if you're in a state or you're in a community that it's legal to do, you have to do it. If you're not going to do it, just because you think the corn is the devil, you're going to lose. So let's close on this one. If you never hunt your feeders, I want this to really, really resonate with a lot of folks. If you never hunt your feeders, guys, it's a way to save your young bucks. Right now, my farms are full. It's the gun season here in Kentucky. My farms are full of young bucks. I've got a lot of neighbors doing this too, right? Not shooting young bucks. They're there. It's a way to save them because they will go to the feeders this time of the year. They are very dumb when it comes to chasing does out in these fields that have these feeders in them, right? They're not getting shot. So you're saving your young stock. That's one thing to think about. The other side of this, guys, is your mature bucks. The older they get, the less they care about rutting, the more they care about food. So if he doesn't rut, you don't get him shot early season. He doesn't rut real hard because he's old. Cheeks, the buck I shot this year here in Kentucky, perfect example, right? He didn't care about rutting. And then at 6.5, all of a sudden, because I've had some of the farm set up knowing that I targeted him, and the way that he was going to navigate the farm and where he was actually using the food plots more this year in the feeders than he's ever has. And he was on his way. I shot him 100 and some yards from that food plot and that feeder, not over it, which I don't care if you're doing that or not. I'm just saying he was on his way to it. Eventually, some point in that evening, he probably would have ended up at that feeder. He come through a shot plot, was going to get a drink of water. That's when I shot him. But if that feeder wouldn't have been there, he probably would have been going a different direction, and I would have had to have a different strategy because he would have been going a different direction or camping out closer to someone else's corn feeder, right? So it's a way to take your older bucks, lock them tight, right? Hopefully you have a spot for them to be inside the farm or near the farm. It's a way to lock them tight, and then they will get themselves in trouble at some point going to that food plot or that feeder late season. So it's a great way to save bucks. It's a great way to get your older bucks to stick, and it is a piece of the puzzle. So, like I said, I'm not against sitting over the corn feeders. I'm not against shooting deer on them. I'm just being real honest with you about should you or should you not use them per where you're at in the country. So I've said this about 10 times now, but let's close on this one. Guys, if you do nothing else, if you're in an area that can use corn, you can bait, right, or feed. When it comes to a feeder that is used for during the hunting season, that's corn. Depending on some blends, maybe you can use some sweet feed. You can't use a lot of it in these feeders that we're using from Wicked Feeder Solutions, guys. They are meant for a dry, maybe a corn and beans or something like that, right? But not a lot of stick to it because they can gum up some stuff because they're free flow. There's no auger, there's no churning, there's nothing like that, right? And that's not just them, it's any free flow feeders, right? If you don't do anything else when it comes to this topic that I teach, buy a Wicked feeder today or plan on putting them on the farm next year. It will blow your mind, guys, on the difference that these deer feel around a feeder that doesn't look like a feeder, right? That's not getting hunted over. That's not getting pushed. They're not getting pushed off every night. That 6 does, I got a picture last night of 6 or 7 does eating at the same time at this feeder, comfortable, no drama, right? So what I'm saying is really, really put some thought into this, guys. Yes, you're gonna waste some food or lose some food to the coons or something like that. But there's no better way. Look at the positives of it. There's no better way to target your coons trapping and to get rid of the coons, right, at a feed location where there's feed there and all the coons are there. I did that this year, trapped many of them, right? And we're continuing. Traps are set right now. We're knocking a hole in them, right? So hopefully you have that availability, state laws and everything included in that, right, of being able to get those coon numbers down. Because don't think for a minute if you're spreading corn and it's hitting the ground and the coons aren't eating it. The power of a wicked log feeder, guys, is this. Yes, you're gonna feed some coons, right? But yes, it's a great place to target them. But if you use something that's got, let's say, a spin caster, which I'm not a fan of because they're loud and the batteries and everything else that comes with it, but let's say it dumps 2 pounds a day out. That's pretty common, right? Put 2 pounds a day out, whether it's in a trough or whether it's on the ground. Guys, these coons are going to be first to the plate. They're going to beat your deer there a lot of times, and then they're going to clean it up. Then it's gone. These feeders, guys, right? It's there all the time. Yeah, the coons eat some of it, but the deer always have something to eat when they come to that location. If you're using an upright feeder and they come to that location and there's not corn on the ground, guess what? They're going somewhere else, right? So, like we said, not saying that they're not going to use your transitions, your water holes, your licking branches, your food plots, your browse, all of that stuff, because if it's there, they definitely will use it. But they're wired and they are wanting that corn, and corn is king. So don't hinder yourself. I could do a separate video on, and maybe we need to, right? Talk about the gun seasons. If you are in a gun state, don't just say, and I get it, it's a bow hunting situation. I love to bow hunt. I'm not going to bow hunt my farm because I'm going to save all the, my farm is going to be the safe haven. And, you know, I own 40 acres or 80 acres or 160, and boy, I'm gonna change the community by giving these deer a place to hide during the gun season. And guess what happens? And you don't want to gun hunt it, you just want to bow hunt it because you don't like the Orange Army. Well, guess what? Don't be stupid, because what's gonna happen is your neighbor's gonna shoot your bucks or the bucks in your community with the gun, and you're gonna miss out when you could have had the experience and you could have had just as much fun hunting by hunting them and getting paid back for your fruits of labor by just hunting, right? So if you have large acreage, I know of one in the state of Kansas that's a large, super large piece of property out there. It's been bow hunting only for years and years, and they kill giant deer, right? So yes, you can house deer. You can have a property that sticks some deer, but it's very uncommon to not be able to. You know, it's very common to lose deer. It's very uncommon to be able to house those deer at some point. If the gun season is long and during the rut, you're going to lose them, right? So, like we said, can you house deer? Yes. Are they going to leave the property? Yes. But if you have all of these boxes checked, all of these habitat features, all the corn, everything, and you're not the cause of any issues, it will happen, right? You are going to be, probably could be, the influencer of the community. And I'm just, you know, telling you the obvious. I'm telling you the honest truth. So look into the wicked feeders, guys. If you're gonna do this, make sure that you reach out and you educate yourself on why we use these, and we don't use an upright spin caster type feeder or upright feeder in general. So we'll close on this one, really, this time. We'll close on this one. We'll probably just make this one kind of more of like a podcast version. Maybe you can listen to this going down the truck, and that way you can scream and yell at me when you turn the radio off, and you can scream and yell at me going down the road and in your pickup. All fun intended, right? All fun intended. Take this one to heart, guys. I have a lot of clients that ask this question. A lot of people struggle with this, and I'm here to tell you the truth. You have to have it. If you're in an area that can have it, please do yourself a favor and have it. Just have it in the right spots and be using it at the right times. Thanks, guys.